What is up, BB Warriors? Today we're going to be talking about Impressionism in Airsoft and Operator's Choice, what is acceptable and what isn't. But first, why don't we define what Operator's Choice is? Now, I define Operator's Choice as a piece of kit that an operator has chosen over what is standardly issued inside of their unit. Now, keep in mind, all these opinions are coming from a civilian airsofter, but today we're going to talk more about what is and isn't correct for Operator's Choice. There's a difference between an impression and an inspired kit. Impression is more correct. Inspired is just, hey, I like how they look, I'm going to somewhat replicate it, but not down to the dot. So what is acceptable that I believe is your iPro, your gloves, and your boots. iPro, because this is airsoft, and sometimes getting for an iPro isn't the easiest thing to do, as well as sometimes it's not ANSI protected, so you can't even bring it onto a field. So I feel like iPro is acceptable because, honestly, the part that matters about airsoft is taking photos at the end of the day. Not playing, not having fun. The only part of airsoft that matters is taking photos at the end of the day, because most people are ashamed of their face online and they don't want their mom to see them in their BB War kit. They're going to blur out their face like you can see here. So I don't really care about eye protection in impressions. Now, gloves I do, to a point. So let's say you're doing a 2004 Belgian Crisis kit, FSB kit. You're going to want to wear the hatch gloves that they used back in the day. It'd be weird for you to wear a pair of Oakley gloves or like my Wiley X gloves that I personally use. It'd be weird. It would be incorrect, out of the time period they were trying to do and out of the unit they were trying to do. So I feel like that's kind of not acceptable in a kit. Whereas if you're doing a DevGru kit, because I want to do like a Rust 4 and a DevGru kit for each example here, you can wear an Oakley glove when they mostly wear outdoor research gloves, or you could get away with the Wiley X, because it's an inexpensive item, under $120 for pretty much any glove that you want to wear. It's an inexpensive item that I could see someone choosing over another item. Now, I mean, there are always going to be the oddball exceptions, like that one picture of the FSB operator running an HK417, which you can see here, but I feel like there's always going to be some oddballs out there, but don't really count on those for your impression. Boots I don't mind as much either, because what's comfortable for you is what's comfortable, and unhappy feet leads to an unhappy person, so wear whatever's comfortable for you for boots. Now, if the unit calls for black boots, wear a black boot. Now, I'm not saying you have to run out and buy a pair of Russian boots or spend $250 on a pair of Salomon boots. I wear Merrell Moabs, honestly, for both my kits. I don't mind. But I feel like it's one of those things, it's kind of like gloves, where it is and it isn't acceptable for Operator's Choice. Now, why don't we talk about some of the things that are not Operator's Choice? That's going to be your firearm, your armor components, and your uniform. So for my FSB impression, my Palma suit, as much as I love this pattern to death, not acceptable for my kit, is incorrect for an impression. As much as I love this, I have to bite the bullet and accept that. Now, I should be wearing like a Spectre suit, or just any partisan suit, or maybe even a Sumrak suit. If I'm doing a direct action FSB kit, I'm going to want to wear Cries or an SSO coverall. And for a DevGru kit, you're going to want to wear an AOR-1 Cry uniform. Now, AOR-2 has been seen out there, and you can do it. I would say do it tastefully, though. If you're going to do AOR-2, do more of like a rec kit. If you're going to run like a chest rig, and more of a longer VFC 416, if you're doing an impression. Well, just an HK 416, I should say. But AOR-2 has been used, but it's not used as often. AOR-1 is always going to be correct, but AOR-2 you can get away with by doing it tastefully, I guess you could say. And armor, that's where you got to be correct. You cannot wear wrong armor. So if you're doing DevGru, you're going to want to wear 1694, either a K or an A, depending on what firearm you're using. A Eagle chest rig, one of the LBT chest rigs, or a Cry carrier like the NJPC or the NCPC. And if you're doing a Russian kit, you're pretty much going to want to wear, at least for a modern day FSB kit, that's what I believe is the most popular, you're going to wear a JTech MK2 or a Gladiator A plate carrier. Now, that's just my opinions. Now, the MK2 can be worn over like a D2, and that's correct. But I feel like the best two that you're going to have is either going to be a Gladiator or an MK2. Or even a Molly D2, because that's always acceptable as well. But you can't go out and wear like an AVS for a DevGru kit, or a 6SH112 load-bearing equipment for Russian infantry. I know I probably misspelled that, but bear with me, you know what I mean, the polite people carrier. I feel like that's just something that you can't really get away with in an impression, is wearing long armor. That's when you really start to go into that inspired range as opposed to that correct range. And something else is the firearm that you are using. And I'm going to go back to that 417 example with the FSB operator up here because it is used. This photo proves that it was used at one point. However, it's a little hard to say that is the correct gun for the kit. You're going to want to still run an AK-105 or an AK-74, an ASVAL, PKP, whatever you have. PP-091, whatever. Whatever Russian AK style gun, you're going to want to run that as opposed to the 417 with a kit. It would be a cool kit, but if you're going to do a really special snowflake kit like this, you're going to want to run exactly what that guy's wearing. You're going to want to hit it down to the T, say that, yeah, I'm doing an impression of this guy. Same thing with a dev group kit. One of the biggest things I see in Operator's Choice in dev group kits is a T1 on a 416. Most dev group guys are going to be running a EOTech 553 or 551 or an EXPS 3, whatever. You're going to run an EOTech on your dev group 416. A lot of people like T1s, myself included. I prefer T1s to an EOTech. I've never used a real EOTech because I don't want to spend $500 on an airsoft optic, but I like my primary arms T1. And it's a little hard to do as Operator's Choice because it is more of an expensive item. So I feel like you can get away with it, but make sure to have some reference pictures to back it up. There have been a few T1s seen on 416s, but it's widely seen the EOTech or even a short guy for doing more of a rec kit is going to be the more acceptable option for a dev group kit. Now just keep in mind with Operator's Choice, price does matter. These people don't get everything for free, so you got to remember what is going to be in use while still being affordable. So that's why I believe that gloves are pretty acceptable, eyewear kinda, boots are a little bit varying, but something like an ACOG, which costs thousands of dollars and isn't, well, not thousands of dollars, about $1,000 to $900 and isn't issued, you're not going to see on someone in dev group. You're going to see maybe a T1 because T1s are relatively inexpensive for a firearm, or like a EOTech and a EOTech magnifier if you're doing a more modern kit, or like the old aim point magnifiers. Or for a Russian kit, you're going to see more of like an aim point comp 4 or an EOTech style. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about doing something Operator's Choice, that everything does have a cost, not everything is free to these operators. That's really going to sum it up about Operator's Choice and my opinions on it and Impressionism. Keep in mind this is your kit and it's how you play airsoft. However, if you're going to call your kit an impression, just make sure that you're doing it correct. There are plenty of online sources for reference pictures, which I'm going to leave two specifically down in the description below. For NATO kits, I'm going to leave Dev Team 6 forms. They're fantastic, especially if you're doing a dev group kit. Ton of resource on that website. And if you're doing a Russian kit, I'm going to leave you with the Russians reference photo archives on their website. Like I said, both those will be down in the description below. The Russians one is fantastic. It's based around photos as opposed to discussion. You're going to want to use like a Russian form like Red Alliance for discussion, while as Dev Team 6 is more discussion form based. But the Russians one is a really simple website to use for looking up Russian kits and things like that. But that is going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, you can always subscribe for more airsofting content every Tuesday and Friday here on the channel. Make sure to follow me on social media for some more dank kit photos, updates, and news on the channel. This has been the BB Warrior, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, the BB Warrior here, and today we're going to be going over my modern day FSB airsoft kit. Now why don't we start off by talking about the gun. The gun is an E&L Gen 2 AK-105, and right now all I really have on there is a Zenetco B13 with an aim point comp M4 made by GMP.